Now, I get asked a lot of times by my younger producers, why do I like to produce in standalone so much? And I have my reasons, which I'm going to talk about today. And at the end of the video, I want some of you older guys to tell me if some of my reasons are valid or if I skipped over a few things, and I want you guys to let me know in the comment section. So let's go ahead and get to the video.
Bolo!
All right, before we get started, if you guys need a new MPC or just anything else for your studio, make sure you guys go ahead and click my link in the description and head over to sounds.com. They have a whole bunch of stuff on the site, and they have a whole bunch of stuff on the site that requires no credit or background check, meaning you can order it, they'll ship it to you in about 2 to 3 days, and then you can just make monthly installments on the payments. All you just need is a credit or debit card hooked to the account, and that's it. Now, it's not everything on the site, but it is a whole bunch of stuff on the site that you guys can get right now by clicking my link in the description and head over to sounds.com. And that way you guys can go ahead and get some gear today. Also, when you go and buy some gear, you're going to need to protect the gear, and Analog Cases is the best place to go ahead and get your gear protected. Right now, they have a new hard shell case for the MPC Key 37, and this thing is dope. Now, this is the ultimate professional case that would keep your MPC Key 37 protected. This thing is a dope hard shell case that has nothing but protective foam on the inside, and it fits your MPC Key 37 like a glove. And it has a compartment to where you can store all your cables and cords and all your knickknacks as well. One thing I like about this, if you're traveling with it, you will be rest assured that your equipment will be safe. So if you guys need to go ahead and protect your MPC Key 37, or if you guys have some other equipment that needs to be protected, go ahead and click my link in the description and head over to Analog Cases today. Now, it is February 5th, 2025, and I am about to be a year older in 3 more days, and I'm going to be 45 years old. Damn, 45. And I've been doing this thing since I've been 20 years old, so I'm going to be 25 years in the game doing this. And one thing I can say is, for somebody who has produced for a lot of people, and I produced inside of the box and I produced in standalone, one thing that I can definitely say about producing in standalone, it just gives me this nostalgic feeling. And every time I make beats on this standalone unit, it just takes me back to a younger day. That's pretty much what it all is. It's the same like when a lot of us try to color our beards or try to save our hairlines. It makes us feel a lot younger when we actually produce on this stuff, because when we were younger, especially somebody my age, at that time, I really couldn't afford the type of stuff that I have right now. And I always wanted to get the stuff that a lot of the top producers were using back in the day. And then finally, once I made enough money, I went ahead and got it. Now, even with all the challenges that standalone production has, one thing that we can all agree on, especially for guys who are older, these are the tools that we were used to using back in the day. Now, don't get it twisted. There's a lot of older producers right now who used to produce on this back in the day that are now inside of the box. But when you have these conversations with a lot of the guys who used to produce on this older stuff, you can see their whole aura and everything light up when they talk about their older machines and everything. Now, during that time, they had a whole bunch of different machines, from the MPC to the ASR-10 to the SP-1200. And you have to think of all the keyboards that came out even before some of these groove boxes even came out. You gotta think this is sometimes between 20 and 40 years ago, and a lot of us were a lot younger. And for the ones who did have the opportunity to use that, that was something that was huge. And for the ones who really want to get into music that didn't have the money to do it, that was like our goal at the time, to be able to have that type of equipment. One of the coolest things back in the day was going through the magazines and looking at all this really expensive equipment and saying to yourself, man, one day I can have this, man. I just got to work hard. And once I save up my money, I'll be able to get me a new MPC 2000 XL. And for me, that was like the goal. Now, I did end up getting the MPC 2000 XL. It was kind of hot off the streets, but you know, that bottom left pad, that pad number 1, that thing didn't work, and had some issues. Don't know where my guy got it from, but you know, He gave me a good price for it. But I ended up getting one and I was very happy about it. But you got to think, I was, 22, 23 at that time? And I was elated by having that piece of equipment because when I would go to certain places or certain studios and they would have an MPC in there, that was like, to me, the legit spot to be at because that wasn't a cheap piece of equipment. And you also got to think during that time, that was like a golden era of music. There was really no other distractions. It was just you and the hardware. And then not to mention, you actually owned that hardware. It wasn't like you had to go and pay for a subscription or you had to pay for a license. When you bought that hardware was yours. And that was one of the best things about it. And then you have to think, during that time when we were younger, there was not really a computer production type of a situation back then. Now, they did have it to where you could produce on computers, but it was not the thing. Everything was done via hardware. It's something about pressing on the pads and turning things and actually touching things rather than clicking on a mouse, because we didn't know nothing about clicking on a mouse at the time. We just knew about pressing these keys and pressing these buttons to create something that we had a vision for. And during that time, we can avoid certain distractions like DAW updates and plug-in updates and computer updates and all that stuff. A lot of times we just turned our equipment on and we just went to work. Now, sometimes it will take a little bit time for it to load up, but y'all get what I'm saying. And then it was the joy of just being in the moment without having to look at a screen. At that time, we were hearing the production more than seeing the production. And even right now today, with all the tools at my disposal, I still like to do it that way. Now, another thing was the reliability and the longevity of the hardware. There's still hardware right now that I own that I can still cut on and it still works. You can't say that much about a lot of computers. Like, you gotta update your computers over time to get that thing to work. And right now, if I wanna go and cut on my MPC 2500, it still cuts on and it still works very well. And just like some of my older boards, I can turn those things on and they crank right back up with no issues and no problems. Right now I have a Motif ES rack from 2003 right here still in my studio, and I can crank that thing up right now and it still sounds just as good as it sounded back then. And then just thinking about it, like, system updates and everything was not a big deal. You know what I'm saying? At that time, you either had to like buy the cards for it or you just dealt with what you had to deal with and you made it work. The limitations at that time made us better producers because we had to figure things out. And that's one of the main things I like about doing standalone production is the limitations and me having to figure things out. It's like a new challenge every time I try to figure something out, even with all the new stuff that's on the new MPCs and like the machine, the Ableton Push 3. Even though I don't really use that. And we can't leave out the SP404, not leaving that out. SP404 is very cool. That's why I think there's been a resurgence in standalone production. Companies brought back a lot of this standalone stuff because it's still in demand. And one of the main reasons why is because, number one, like I said before earlier, a lot of the older guys, when we use this stuff, it brings us back to a younger time. And two, the demand for a better sound is coming back, because as much as I love producing on a computer, don't get me wrong, you can get a really great sound out of the computer, but you have to do a little bit to kind of get that sound to resonate the same way that it sounds coming out of these groove boxes and out of these keyboards. Now, to some of you guys, y'all might not can hear the difference, but that's expected because when I hear some beats from you guys and I hear how it's mixed and y'all say things sound the same, and I'm sitting there like, yeah, their ear isn't developed like that. But at the end of the day, we have to give everybody a favor, and some people are just not trained to hear certain things. Now, not to say that I'm the best mixing engineer in the world and I just have all the perfect mixes. No, it's just that I've been around these machines. I still to this day make beats inside of the box as well. And there is a definite difference when it comes to the sound coming out of the groove boxes, hitting preamps, going into the software, then me making a track in the software. Now, is it like just a huge difference? No, it's not like a huge difference, but there is a difference from when I'm taking stuff out of here and putting it into the software. I have to do very minimal changes to that versus to where when I'm actually making a beat in the software, I have to go through and maybe add a few things just to kind of get it the way I really want it to sound. Not to say that you have to get this stuff, but I'm just saying that just to me personally, you know, one person out of 8 billion people, I just feel that when it is coming out of here, it just sounds better immediately. You can just hear it. It sounds bigger, warmer. And that leads me to talk about now the new way of producing, where you can have a hybrid workflow to where you can have this hooked up to the computer, and then you can get this standalone sound along with the flow of working inside of the box as well. Now, it's actually kind of cool to have this type of sound with the convenience of a DAW. So, you know, I have nothing against a hybrid type of a situation. I do it a lot of times, but me, you know, I would prefer using the standalone, but hey, sometimes I feel like walking on the wild side, and I might feel like having a whole hybrid situation. And at the end of the day, hybrid, standalone, or whatever, it's all about what makes you happy. Now, at the end of the day, is it all of us who produce in standalone like this? No. There's a lot of older producers that solely create inside of the box. And of course, we know there's a lot of young producers that solely create inside the box, and they're making some phenomenal stuff right now. So this is not the only option. I'm not saying that you have to do this. I'm just saying why a lot of us older guys advocate for this. Like I said before, I think it's kind of a nostalgic feeling every time we work on it. Makes us feel a little bit younger. We feel good about it. And it's kind of like a huge accomplishment to have all of this gear and to be able to work on this stuff, because while a lot of us were younger, we couldn't afford this. We really wanted to get into this. And then, you know, we made a little bit of money. We got what we wanted. Might have took some time, but we got it. Now, I want to ask you guys this. Are you a standalone fan, or do you prefer the DAW life? And for you older guys, if you think I missed anything, let me know in the comment section so I can go ahead and read them, because I like what you guys say in the comment section. And I will respond back. Y'all know I'll respond back. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys learned something from it. And like I always say, peace out.